All right, everybody. My name is Brooke Barcel. This is Contagious, the stay-home comedy show. And first up is Tutors. Welcome, Tutors.
Here's Brooke.
Here's Brooke. Yay! Woo! Very, very fun. That's the only brass to mouth I'm okay with. You guys can laugh. Like I said, I am Brooke Barcel. This show is called Contagious because laughter is contagious and this joy is worth catching. We're all supposed to stay home, so we're going to make it fun. Throughout the night, you can donate. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I posted this on Facebook, and I don't know if a lot of people saw it. If you donate $5 or more, you could be a part of a live audience and like actually be in the Zoom background. You can kind of look at us and then laugh when appropriate. Be really, really fun. I think that might be fun for you. My name's Brooke. I'm from Nebraska. That's why my jokes are so corny. Thanks. I'm actually allergic to corn though, so if my eyes swell shut halfway through this set, it's not my fault. Oh, I'm doing so good. Okay, where are the jokes? Right here, guys. So I have a lot of rocks and like dangerous stuff on top of my headboard, so I obviously don't have sex ever. Otherwise, it would be dangerous. It's not dangerous. They just sit there. I'd rather be picky than sticky. Thank you. So with all this free time that we have these days, we're all like true crime experts now. I've been watching a lot of Catfish, so I know all the signs, which is cool. I mean, I've been having this relationship. It's on the phone. Like we don't FaceTime because he's Donald Trump. But like he's so sweet. Like we talk all day long, like via the texting and stuff, and like I don't know. He's gonna leave Melania. I guess she's super cold. That's a really bad joke. I was a cheerleader for 7 years. Yeah, I can tell because I'm like super peppy. We learned something the first week called the 2-finger smile. And it's like an unnatural position for your jaw to be in. I don't know why they would teach girls like that unless you think that they're going to want to put a gun in their mouth later on in life. After 7 years of cheerleading, trying to be aggressive, B-E, aggressive, B-E-G-S-S-I-V-E. That is what those pretty girls, that's what they told me to do. They told me to be aggressive. They did. That was their advice. They're like, that boy likes you. You should be aggressive. I'm already intense enough. Like, I don't know. What else did they teach me? They teach me to cheer on the boys so that they would score, like over and over and over. That was like the biggest thing that we wanted, was for the boys to score again and again and again. We had that cheer was, let's all get fired up. We'll start and never stop. And like you do really, like you want them to stop. There's this little like jig, oh low, jig, oh low. It's how you keep the rhythm. But it's also a male prostitute, which is an interesting thing to teach a young girl about. I don't know. I kick my leg up in the air, but I'm a lady, and ladies don't kick their legs up when they're wearing skirts, unless they're cheerleaders. It's just a really strange sport, you know, like all the football players, like they don't all start, but for some reason they all want to finish. Eventually I did get kicked off cheerleading, and it wasn't for fucking all the athletes. That was just a rumor. No. Like I used to memorize pickup lines as a jokester just to kind of keep the mood up. It would get really, really intense at cheerleading because we didn't want to we wanted to win, We wanted to win first place. That was the most important thing. Grab onto that spirit stick and win. So I'd leave practice like in a really bad mood. I would listen to Limp Bizkit and just scream, break stuff. I would come with the jokes, I'd liven things up, and I would say, "Hey Jenny, those are awesome. Are those space pants?" Throw her up in the air and then catch her because her ass is out of this world. I don't know. And then I just slap her on the titty. It was fun. It was fun. I didn't mind it, but I eventually, like I said, I did get kicked off, and it was for calling the coach a bitch. That was why. What to do all the time. Kind of like Siri, dumb bitch. Luckily, I don't have Siri anymore. I changed sweet little Siri into a sir. Now he's Australian and sexy, and when he tells me what to do, I do it very happily and willingly, quickly, with a smile on my face. So, anywho, I think that's about all of my jokes for tonight. I've got a whole bunch of fun comics. What's fun about, actually, hold up. Give me a round of the applause. Go for it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Just like Lady Gaga. I live for the applause. I've been doing open mics online, which has kind of been really, really rad because I've gotten to do like 4 in one day and not having to leave my room. Like I get to go to New York and LA and Oregon and find out that I do fit in with these really weird people, which is really cool. It shouldn't be a surprise. It shouldn't be. Our first comedian, like when you meet somebody, like you almost like, right away that you love them. Like you do. Like as soon as I heard Lucy talk, like the very first line, I was like, she's my soul sister. Okay. I met her in an open mic in Indianapolis. She's from the UK. She's fucking funny. She does a Facebook live show, so we're gonna get to enjoy her talk for a while. Put your hands together. Welcome to your house, Lucy Orchard.
Hello, America. It's UK calling. It's very late, so I got up. Don't worry. But I'm very excited to be a part of this tonight. I just want to be like the great female comedians that came before us. So Joan Rivers, Betty White, or my personal heroine, RuPaul, because you need a set of balls on you to do stand-up on your own in the living room at 2:30 in the morning. DJs, not sequins. So I didn't know if I'd have the confidence to do stand-up. So I asked my boyfriend, and he said, "Lucy, you've got it in the bag." He said, "I look funny." He said, "I sound funny." But recently he said that I tasted funny. But no, I have to say, I was once invited to be the course 2 in a 7-course taster menu by Guy Fieri. But that was much before lockdown, because good luck finding the sweet spot now, because I wasn't into hedge trimming beforehand. And now it's sort of like those parks that they reintroduce wolves to. It's like an actual national forest down there. Like a lot of people, I used to have a job. I was a long distance intercontinental former European semi-driver. I say former European because I voted to leave on the Brexit referendum, and I didn't plan to do it, but my ex steered me into it. We dated for around about a year, and if you're not into puns, buckle in, kids. We were never going to last for 3 reasons. 1, it was long distance. 2, he drove me crazy. 3, he was a fucking narcissist. No, that's not a pun, is it? That's just what I taste. So, being a woman driver, you'd think I'd be inundated in offers of romance. But, well, I gotta be honest, between you and me, I thought I'd be elbow deep in dick by now.
Right?
But the last men near my semi were there to steal my diesel. Don't judge me. I let them. I was lonely and I liked the attention. So I got asked by the family planning doctor, what do I use for contraception? And I said, simple. A sparkling wit and an emasculating occupation. I haven't been knocked up once. But I would like to just I would like to dispel the myth that truck drivers sit in their cabs all day watching porn and masturbating. I don't watch porn. I'm a lady, got imagination, and I won't waste the data. Last year, I was actually voted best semi-driver in the events industry in Europe. No punchline, boys and girls. I'm just globally smug, and this is in every routine I do. I used to go everywhere in my semi. I drove around all around Europe. I used to go to Belgium, cheap cigarettes. I used to go to Luxembourg, even cheaper cigarettes. And I went to Amsterdam. Something of those fucking cigarettes. I can't remember a thing. But we used to have a phrase in the industry, the show must go on. So we have to drive long distances in very short times. So we get given a double driver. So I had to go from like Verona to Barcelona in one shot. Now, if you don't know what a double driver is, don't worry, I'll tell you. It's where they put a strange man in my cab who can hopefully drive a truck and not just touch himself whilst I sleep. But to break the ice, I like to put a bit of ambience on, put a radio show on, and I like a 3-part documentary on Ted Bundy. Because I want them to think, what's the fucking chance of there being 2 psychopaths in the cab at any one time? And if this hand starts tingling and starts going anywhere it shouldn't go, I want to look over at me, sweetly sleeping, and think, she's probably got a knife under her pillow. And they'd be fucking right, mate. No matter where I go, where I want to come back to is my little village in Devon, because it's just like Twin Peaks. What was that? Yeah, there's no fucking police here right now. No, none of them. And I bet you fancy folk, you've got those like DoorDash and Uber Eat apps. You can get food delivered to your house 24 hours a day. Well, what we've got in my village is a little tiny postcard in the village convenience store, which tells you which day of the week the fish and chip van comes to the village parking lot. Now, if you are tech savvy, you can send a text message with your order, so you don't have to sit around in the car park. Because we don't have 3G, and you can't get a bus after 7. And Ubers are an urban legend, literally. But we're not sitting in a parking lot like a bunch of doggers, because that's Saturday. Shit, I'm late. And also, boys and girls, if you Google that, the joke's a lot fucking funnier. I know you Americans do it. I just know that we've got a name for it. But what if my little village was like Twin Peaks? What if there was a crime spree or a murder spree? Well, I'd volunteer to be Detective Orchard. I've watched thousands of hours of crime drama. I'd get my little toolkit out, collect the forensic evidence. I'd volunteer to do the autopsy, crack your chest, get your stomach contents out. I'd even weigh your liver. Don't worry, I can't reach you. But have I learnt enough to commit a crime? Could I get away with murder? Well, I'd bury you in a national park and nobody would ever find you. I'm only kidding. I'm way too lazy to dig a hole. But as I said, I love murder mystery. And I'm not just like into murder mystery. I love murder mystery. It's an obsession. My ideal man is Hercule Poirot, which means, you know, I'm looking for a short, dead fictional man. So there's probably a file with my name on it in GCHQ, which is our version of the Pentagon. Probably a big fucking file with all my internet search history and my library loans on it. But if this is a conspiracy to keep people inside, it's probably aimed at me for public safety. And I've been wondering, what about murderers in this time? How are they coping with the lockdown? What about the body dumps? Well, you'd think it'd be easy. Everyone's inside. You can go out. Nah, every fucking person's out in the parks, jogging, riding their bikes. And as for dog walkers, if you dumped a body, they'd find it whilst it was still warm. So you can get away at the moment by doing gardening. Nobody will raise an eye at you doing gardening. You could dig a hole, put a new patio down, nobody would notice. But all the building supply places are shut, so the slabs are out. I'm too lazy to dig a hole. We've just covered that. So I'd need those little dumpy organic bags you can get in the foyer of Walmart. I just have to sort of lay them over the body, put a couple of begonias in, a couple of busy lizzies, and call it a feature. It just goes to prove that even murderers can work from home. Stay home, save lives. But talking of working from home, as I've said, I am actually a semi-driver. And this is my ensuite. This is what I use for the toilet. It's not cheap. It's the expensive Tupperware. It's got the clips. But I've been working from home in the way that I've actually been peeing in a bucket recently because we have got foxes and they are killing my chickens. So I did some intensive research. I wikied it. And apparently, urine is a vulpine deterrent, which means foxes fucking hate it. So we've got dreams and plans for our future, aspirations of fame and fortune and power. But ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing more humbling at 2 o'clock in the morning to stand in the garden, swing a bucket in your PJs and your mum's gardening clogs with a light resting on a tree stump, trying to spray your own territory, but not spray yourself. Now, the only problem is if the fox has got a drink habit, because since lockdown, my piss is basically 40% proof. But I just want to say thank you very much for watching. And in case you're worried, tasting funny, it doesn't mean I've got coronavirus, just a yeast infection. And if you really enjoyed my show, please feel free to donate. PayPal.me/Lucy Fool. And don't ever forget to like and share Backline Comedy.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Lucy. Keep it going for Lucy Orchard from the UK. I think toot is in order, right? Toot. Fucking foxes. Fucking fox. Yay! Oh, what's fun, you guys, is we just got started. There are more. Woo! Our next comedian, he's from Omaha, Nebraska. Sorry, I'm just still like taking all that in. I'm sure you're too. We can do that. One more. All right, put your hands together. Welcome to your house, Zach Bravietti.
Woo!
Hey, how's it going? I'm Zach, and I was born with a problem. Everyone's first impression when they meet me is douchebag. So that's something that I live with and I deal with every day of my life. But of course, we could not talk about quarantine, but I hate talking about quarantine, so I compromised. I wrote a song about quarantine. So here we go. Just wrote it this afternoon. This is the world premiere. Okay. It's called Quarantine Song. It's a very original title. We've been locked up for like 47 days, and I've eaten every bag I have of Frito-Lays. I've been so lonely since we've been apart. I'd give my right nut to smell another person's fart. Guess I'll stay inside and have another beer. Sing my shitty song for you all to hear. Quarantine, quarantine. Everybody's tweets are getting really quarantine. Have a way Netflix lists. If I hear another fucking thing about Tiger King again, I will slit my fucking wrist. Going grocery shopping for like the 12th time. Spent my 12 years being weed. Quarantine, quarantine. Hulu or Netflix, what I choose between. Quarantine, quarantine. I watched every porn of girls flicking who child molested. They say staying inside makes you a hero, but it also makes your bank account read zero. Say we should go back to normal soon. Wait. Now they're saying we won't get out until fucking June? Quarantine, quarantine. Don't know how much longer I can stay inside. Quarantine, quarantine. At this point, I'd rather get corona and die. So, That's how I feel. Quarantine patch is my dating life, and it's got me thinking back on some past relationships that I've had. I used to date this girl that was a fucking bitch, and it was the best. It never failed. At some point in the day, I would come home and she'd start yelling at me about something like, "You left your shoes by the door again. You never pick up your shit. I'm always telling you to do it, and you never listen. I'm always tripping over your shoes." Blah, blah, blah. And I would always say, "What?" The best time was later at night. You know, when you're nice and rowdy, as the UK people say.
Oh.
Uh, and the dirty like that. You like it like this? Yeah. Then you start saying just the tip. Guys know what just the tip is. Okay. So you go in just the tip, and then you get her to start begging for it. Like, do you like that? Yeah. You want the rest? Yeah. Gonna pick up my fucking shoes when I come home? That's when it was the best. Was that little sweet moment of revenge right there? When you just had her right like that. But relationship had to end because she started using my own trick on dishes away when I ask. So I had to break up with her and start banging her sister. But now I'm single because of my personality. And my roommate before all this going on was always trying to get, he's like, "Dude, gotta get laid. You're always sitting in the house." And I'd say, well, "I'd rather just stay inside and watch you get laid." But his girlfriend set me up, and hey, because the whole time she was just bitching about how expensive her chemo was. And then later, finally get down to the dirty deed, and I have to apologize afterwards. Like, "I'm sorry. I normally don't go so quickly. You just remind me a lot of my mom." And she said, "Is that why you're crying the whole time?" Or, but you know, I've tried to keep trying to talk to girls, but I'm terrified because every time I go try to talk out what most girls want, right? Guys, we're simple. We just want a pretty face, some fun bags, and a nice little pooper, right? But girls all want a guy that's like 6'2" and ripped. And here I come waddling over 5'6" with some B cups. And even if I start working out, I'm gonna look like a muscular toddler. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, the problem is that I'm really picky with dates with facial piercings because I already know I'm gonna be too scared to say no when you ask to peg me. Life's already fucked me in the ass enough. I don't need my girlfriend to do it too. I also don't want to date girls with kids. I don't want kids of my own. I don't want to help you raise the kid of a guy that couldn't even afford a coat hanger. And what happens if I really like you, but I hate your kid? Planned Parenthood doesn't get rid of 7-year-olds, and I can't just drop him off at an orphanage. The little fuck knows how to get home. So kids are no go for me. Also, I also can't bring myself to date girls with a bunch of tattoos because I know how much those cost, and I know you have more money than me. Okay, no girl wants to be the sugar daddy in a relationship. I know, I've tried to get one. You have to be hung like a horse to get a girl that's willing to pay your way in life. They don't want a guy that's got a little 2-inch power tower, which is me, if you hadn't figured it out. Those guys go out like jackhammers, and my sex is more like a shot. Just this happened. My last experience with dating, I was out at a Hispanic club trying to find a girl to get pregnant, and my roommate stops me and he says, "Hey, if you see a girl tonight, tell her this phrase." Right? Gives me the phrase. So we're dancing. I see this beautiful girl, and I say, "Eres una mula, porque quiero meterte en algo en el culo," which is a super romantic Spanish saying. It translates to, "Are you a drug mule? Because I want to put something up your ass." So she smacked me chancla, and I went home and masturbated that night. And that is the summary of my dating life. I don't know what else to say in these situations. Usually the girl leaves before I have to say something. So goodbye, I suppose.
All right. Thank you, Zach, for your Eddie. Put your hands together, everybody. Woo! I just have to say, for somebody that's 5'6" with a 2-inch dick, you have way too many preferences. Just saying, just saying.
Guilty. I can't help it. I'm sorry.
I watched this trashy show on Netflix, and it was like Too Hot to Handle, and there was this super, super hot guy. And so now obviously I'm following him on Instagram, but it says on his Instagram that he is a test tube baby. Like, I don't think these people are real. They're test tube people. I don't know. I'm not saying that you need to settle for somebody like Zach. That's not what I'm saying. Don't take that as the lead away. Okay, we're gonna keep this going. We got wholesome David coming up next. So I did tell a little bit at the beginning, if you're just tuning in, you can actually donate like $5 or more and come be a part of our live audience. We call it like the front row. You can, like, wave like this at the comedian and laugh at their jokes. It's kind of getting like a backstage pass. We might even let you hang out with us like a little bit after the show. No promises. We don't know you yet. So in the post, it should say like where you can donate. You can also donate at some of our like personal Venmo, blah 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 blah. Backline comedy. I'll just do this. Yay! Yep, do that. Hashtag contagious, so you know it goes to this particular show. Okay. Our next comedian, he is very funny. He comes from Iowa. I don't want to say Council Bluffs because I don't think he's actually from Council Bluffs. He's from somewhere around there, maybe Carter Lake.
Yep.
But he tours around the Midwest, does some of those festivals, and does like produces some shows here in Omaha. You can catch him on his podcast. It's called Running the Lights. I think they do a new episode every Monday. Put your hands together. Welcome to your house, David Kausgaard.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for letting me be part of it. Real quick, I want to ask Brooke, am I coming through clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. Was Zach's set breaking up for anybody else when he was doing it? Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't my connection that was messing up. Yeah, it was funny. Zach's set, the funniest thing about it was that he sounded like an NFL ref trying to tell me a penalty, but the mic kept cutting out on him the entire time. Offside, number 4, defense. Just, I love that. That's my favorite part of every football game. Every football game. But no, it's great. It's great doing this. It's helping me keep my sanity because I have been stuck in my house for 40 some days, like everybody else out there in the world right now. And I'm actually pretty proud of myself because all this time stuck in my house and I still haven't talked to a single one of my neighbors. Not one of them. I don't get to know my neighbors. That's just a general rule that I have. I've always had it everywhere I live. Mostly because if one of my neighbors does something super messed up and then a news reporter comes up and talks to me about it, I don't want to be that idiot on the news going, "Oh, I had no idea that Jim could do such a thing," which is just total bullshit. Like, I don't want to look like that idiot. When a news reporter comes and talks to me, I want to look like a completely different type of idiot. "Sir, what can you tell us about your neighbor Jim?" Oh, I'm just finding out that his name is Jim right now. I I always thought he looked more like a Chris. I called him Chris. Well, are you surprised that he murdered his wife? That dude was married? Oh my God. Just when you think you know somebody. That's the real shocker here. Do you know what he might have done with his children? Chris had kids? Oh my God. Oh yeah, they're not going to air my interview on the news. They're not. Uh, Instead, they're gonna air the person who's like, "Oh, Jim was a loving husband and father," which we know is not true, because otherwise his wife would be alive and people wouldn't be wondering where his kids are. Oh, I had a birthday in quarantine. I was one of those quarantine birthday people. It wasn't too bad. I did have somebody give me a self-help book as a present for my birthday, and which I took to mean that someone I know used a gift to let me know that I have serious personality flaws they want me to fix. Yeah, thanks, mom and dad, for the book and the personality flaws. It's, I shouldn't be too hard on my parents. They tried their best with me. They tried. They failed, but they tried. And the reason I say they failed is because even when stand-up comedy is gone, their baby boy is still going online to possibly dozens of viewers and trying to get them to like him by telling jokes. And that's not what you do when you got all the hugs you were supposed to get growing up. But they did try. They did try their best with me. They tried really hard to shield me and my other siblings from some of the more negative aspects of the world, some of the darker stuff that's out there. Like the perfect example of this is when I was growing up, my parents taught me and all of my siblings bedtime prayers because we were raised in a religious household. And the first prayer they ever taught me when I was 4 years old was the prayer, "Now I lay me down to sleep," which goes, "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Guard me, Jesus, through the night. Wake me with the morning light. Amen." Now, if anybody else here knows that prayer, or if you've ever listened to the song Enter Sandman by Metallica, you know that that's not how that prayer goes. They taught me a different version because the prayer is supposed to go, "Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep." They got that part right. Then that prayer takes a really dark turn. And the next part goes, "If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take." Hands down, the best parenting decision my parents ever made was to not tell me at 4 years old that I could die in my sleep, because I was a nightmare to get to go to bed as a kid. Could you imagine how much worse it would have been if they sat me down as a toddler and were like, "Hey, you know how you go to bed every night and you wake up every morning? Well, sometimes that second part don't happen. All right, good night, bye. We'll see you in the morning, maybe. We don't know. Going to bed in this house is a gamble." Oh, I miss live audiences so bad.
I promise you we're alive.
uh, oh man, my cry for help's got the biggest laugh of the night so far, so that's nice. um, yeah, it's just I didn't. Here's the I didn't mind being raised religious either when I was growing up. There are a lot of people I know who say their religion messed them up. I don't think my religion messed me. If anything, it gave me a lot of comfort when I was a kid. It still gives me some comfort now, but there were times where I really wanted it to give me comfort and it just didn't. Like when I was 10 years old, we had to put our family dog down. And obviously I was very sad by this. And so I went looking for comfort anywhere I could find it. And I went to the pastor at my church and I asked him if my dog went to heaven. And I remember he put his hand on my shoulder, he looked me dead in the eyes, and he just said, "No, buddy, dogs don't have souls." I was devastated by this, especially since I had just watched a movie that told me that all dogs do, in fact, go to heaven. I was like, oh my God, Pastor, it sounds like the only person without a soul here is you. How hard is it to say yes when a kid asks if their doggy went to heaven? You say it about people all the time, and there's no way that's true. Like, I liked Grandpa as much as the next person, but he had some not great opinions about Korean people. And I'm not sure if racism keeps you out of heaven, but it definitely isn't in the pros column. The only way he could have made that worse is if he looked at me and went, nah, dude, your dog went straight to hell. You know, all those times you asked her who's a good girl? Well, if you'd listened carefully, you would have heard God whisper, turns out God's a cat person. Right, I'll get off the topic of dead dogs. That seems to be a real bummer for people. So, when I was when I was 4 years old, I was a ring bearer in my aunt and uncle's wedding. And to thank me for being part of the wedding, my aunt got me a shirt that said "World's Cutest Ring Bear" on it, and it had a picture of a little bear in the middle. It was adorable. I thought it was really cute. I thought it was less cute when she gave me a similar shirt after my grandma's funeral that said "World's Saddest Paul Bear" on it. Bear on that shirt was crying. Yeah. Sometimes I do things that I know make my grandfather roll over in his grave. Like when I exhume his body and roll him around in his casket. I hate these jokes. I don't know why I decided to tell these ones tonight. I can be adaptable. I can change it up. I think I can remember some of my jokes that I haven't told in over a month and a half. Yeah, before all of this happened, I actually was pretty fortunate. Like Brooke said, I traveled all over the Midwest. I also traveled around most of the country doing comedy, and I always enjoyed doing that because I would get to meet really interesting people anytime I would travel somewhere. Like I was doing a show in Miami, Oklahoma, spelt Miami, pronounced Miami, because fuck vowels, apparently. That's the Oklahoma state motto. And Miami is not an interesting place, but it is full of interesting people. After the show, I was sitting down at the bar, and I was sitting next to this old guy and this young guy. And I think they might have known each other, think they were related or something. I don't know. I never asked, but it didn't matter because all we were doing is we were drinking, telling stories, having a great time. And the old guy was telling me some of the best stories I'd ever heard because old people have the best stories because the most shits happen to them. It's just how it works. And so at the end of the night, when we had to go our separate ways, I stopped the old dude and I was like, hey, man, you've been telling me amazing stories all night. I have to know, what's your best story? And as the old guy started thinking about it, the young guy he was with leaned over and went, hey, what about that time you got hit by a train? And the old guy went, nah, I don't want to tell that one. What? Why don't you want to tell that story? That's the best story I've never heard. And I'll tell you why it's the best story. It's because you never hear anybody say the sentence, hey, do you guys remember when I got hit by that train? No one says that. Do you know what people do say? Hey, do you guys remember Gary? He got hit by that train. Boy, I miss him. If that happened to me, that would be the only story I ever told. No matter what story somebody else tells me, that's what I'm coming back with. Oh, what's that? Oh, you made a game-winning shot to send your school to the state tournament for the first time in school history? That's adorable. That's real cute. I went toe-to-toe with a diesel electric engine carrying 100 tons of coal, and it was a draw. Draw because I was still alive, but the train was still running. But given humanity's record against trains, I'm going to take 0-1 as a pretty fucking good record to retire on. Not everybody I meet on the road, though, was interesting. Some people were just weird. Like I was in a coffee shop in St. Louis, Missouri. And I'm in line in the coffee shop. Guy in line with me leans forward and he goes, "So do you like coffee?" And I went, "Yep." And then I thought our conversation was done because he could have put two and two together. I'm in line in a coffee shop. I'm not here to yell, "Tea is better," when they ask me for my order. But we weren't done because he leaned back forward and he went, "Yeah, man, I love coffee. I did the math. I spent over $500 on coffee last month." And I was like, "Oh, wow, you really love coffee then." And then I heard his order. He ordered a venti white mocha latte with 9 shots of espresso in it. And I was like, "Holy shit, man, I normally don't advocate for this, but you should try cocaine." Because if that's your order and that's how much money you're spending on, you might be the first person to ever save money by switching to coke. And as an added benefit, it's going to make you way better at conversations than you currently are. Because I've never had a conversation with someone who was on coke where I wasn't interested, terrified, or both. But either way, I was paying attention to them. Oh, this was actually much more fun than the last online show that I did. That's it for me, you guys. Thanks for letting me be part of your night. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yay! Thank you, David. Keep it going for David Cowsgard, you guys. Funny guy. I want if you keep doing these open mics and stuff, there's a comedian in Chicago and she does a joke about trains. I want both of you guys to hear each other's jokes. Like like each other. Actually, they're doing the open mic on Tuesday. And from what I could tell, there's only 2 Omaha comics signed up for the open mic on Tuesday. But there's like people from all over the world. So tell your to stop being lazy. Anywho, we're gonna keep it going. We got 2 more comedians. This first one is from Chicago. She's super funny. I saw her at one of these open mics, and I'm like, cool. Yeah, I dig it. I dig her vibes. She does a podcast. It's called Alone at Lunch, which sounds delightful. Like to me, lunch is like that time away where you don't want to interact with people. But I guess you could listen to a podcast at lunch. Oh, it's getting hot in here, guys. Well, I don't know how you eat with these things. Put your hands together. Welcome to your house. Our next comedian, Carly Montag.
Hey, I'm actually representing New York. So
I just said that. I was like, I think so.
Let's go Mets. What's up? Heck yeah.
Boo.
Oh, wow. Someone just boo the Mets. How original. I can't believe, Lucy, that you're doing this at 4:30 in the morning. That's so wild. That's so great. I'm happy to be here. Chicago sounds great too, but alas. I'll start off with a crazy thing that happened to me. When I was 21, I got a Facebook message from my 6th grade English teacher. She wrote, and I quote, "Dare I ask, semicolon, gay, question mark?" I was shocked. I honestly couldn't believe she used a semicolon. That's so crazy. So wild. It's funny because if she was hitting on me, I think it's so crazy that she was my teacher when I was 11, and then she waited 10 years to make her move. Okay, that is a lot of patience. And what's funnier about it is that when I was 11, I was not a catch. Okay, she had a lot of better options. Okay, I was fat. I had a lisp, and I used a backpack on wheels. Right? I was fat. And it's mostly because I'm a stress eater, which is great for these times. I don't always mind it though, because growing up, I felt like I was the one keeping Old Navy in business. I would always go to check out, and they knew me by a first name basis there. Yeah, it was fun. It's like there's no place like home. There's no place like home. Shopping at Old Navy is funny because they don't, just like every other store, they put their clothes from smallest to largest, right? It goes like all the smalls and then the mediums and the large and so on. But there are no smalls shopping at Old Navy. Okay, they can just get rid of those right off the bat. All right, all the smalls are going to the Banana Republics. All right, there are no double zeros who are trying to get into Old Navy. I had a lisp. I had a lisp growing up, and it wasn't cute. But I used to get taken out of I used to get taken out of class to go to speech therapy, and I loved missing class. So I used to fake having the lisp for longer than I actually had it. Listen, maybe it's not sexy to have a lisp, but I was like, well, do I want to get kissed, or do I want to miss studies? As it turns out, my English teacher was right. I am gay. She had way better gaydar than I did, and but you guys are like, you're wearing a Met shirt. Obviously, you're gay. We already knew that off the bat. She's like, I'm wearing an oversized baseball shirt right now. Yeah, the first girl I ever went on a date with, she cooked me dinner at her apartment, and I went to leave, and she was like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "Don't worry, I'll be right back. Just have to get all of my stuff." I moved in real fast. Turns out the stereotypes are true. I didn't know. It took me a while. I didn't know that I was. It took me 24 years. I didn't know that I was gay until I was 24. And the first girl I ever went on a date with, we dated for 3.5 years. We lived together. She was. Are you showing me a picture? What's happening? She she was 14. She was 14 years older than me. Okay, so I was 24. You do the math. And what's funny is that people always thought that she was my mom, which was so weird because she was my English teacher. What? One time we went out to dinner and the waiter thought that she was my mom, and I panicked. And I should have said something like nice and normal, like, "No, we're dating." But because I'm awkward, what slipped out was, "No, she touches me." Yeah, not that night. She didn't. She really was into classic rock. She loved classic rock, or in her case, rock. And it was funny because she would always test me on who was playing, like the songs that were playing or the bands that were playing. And I literally never knew the answer, like not once. I would always just guess Led Zeppelin. I was like, at some point, I have to be right. One time we were in the car and she was like, "Who's playing?" And I was like, "Led Zeppelin." And she was like, "No, it's Fleetwood Mac." I was like, "Okay." Next song comes on. I was like, "Is it Led Zeppelin?" She's like, "No, it is Fleetwood Mac. We're listening to a Fleetwood Mac CD." I was like, all right, my bad. She's like, "You know what? Just get out of the car. You can go your own way."
Oh.
Guys, I looked up Fleetwood Mac for that joke, okay? Yeah, she was, so if you did the math, she was like in her early 40s while we were dating. And so she started talking about like wanting kids, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay, I don't think I can handle kids. Okay, and here's how I know I can't handle kids. If carrying a baby in my arms is anything like carrying my laundry to the laundromat. I'm gonna drop that baby a lot. I'm glad that I relates to you guys. I wasn't sure if you had laundromats in the middle of the country. I don't know how you guys do your laundry over there. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I do not have a washer dryer in this apartment. Okay. It's funny because so she was 14 years older and she was in way better shape. Okay. Like she could do push-ups and pull-ups. And for me, if something drops, it is gone forever. Okay. I am honestly an old man. Okay. I literally, this is true. I have herniated discs. I have high cholesterol and I wear orthotics. So just like an old man, I dumped her for a 27-year-old. I am dating someone my own age now. It's going well. I was trying to be like open with her about this thing. I have this compulsion disorder where I pull out hair, and she's like, "Really, you do that? Because you have so much pubic hair." Okay, she's not wrong. Actually, the craziest thing happened is I found a black pubic hair, and all the red ones moved out. So, all right. I like you guys. You guys can hang. That's good. Okay, cool. Let's see. I've been wearing my high school sweatshirt a lot recently. In quarantine specifically, just like lounging in my high school sweatshirt, which is really nice and comforting because it reminds me of my high school days where I was home with no parties to go to. Yeah, the girl I'm dating, she told me that I look like a lesbian Charlie Brown, and I was like, that is just Peppermint Patty. I don't know. I was like, and that makes you Marcy. So what's that say about you? You know? Oh gosh. When I'm very persuadable, and when I came out to my parents, if they had shipped me off to gay conversion therapy, I feel like I would have been the one person it actually worked on. And then I'd be here telling all different jokes, you know. It'd be something like, here's me having gone to gay conversion therapy, and now I'm telling jokes. Okay. Hey, you ever going through your boyfriend's closet, wishing you could wear his clothes? I was before all this self-isolation stuff happened, I was home visiting my parents, and I found my dad watching Project Runway. Dare I ask, semicolon, gay? It's funny because he watches the TV as if he was watching the show Project Runway as if he was watching a sporting event. He was like yelling at the TV, like a design would come out, and he'd be like, "Those two things don't go together." And it's so funny because I walked by and I was like, "Oh my God, that's what I yell when I watch straight porn." I'm not quite a butch lesbian. I'm not quite a lipstick lesbian, right? I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm what's known as a chapstick lesbian. That's when you go down on a girl because your lips are dry. That's some dry humor for you. My parents are very supportive. They're great. They actually recently just got me this keychain. They went on a trip and they brought me home a keychain, and it has a very motivational quote on it. It says, "Well-behaved women seldom make history," which is a very strong, powerful quote. The only problem is that I am the most well-behaved person I know. I didn't start drinking until I was 21. I've tried drugs once and I cried the whole time. It's funny because I'm so well behaved that I actually have the keychain on my keys. So it's just a constant reminder that I'm not going to make it in this world. So I think in return, I'm going to get my parents a doormat that says, well-intentioned parents often do more harm than good. I don't know how this is going to translate over Zoom, but we'll try it. It's been a while since anyone's talked about Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, right? Okay, that's a normal transition. I love them. You guys know Frankie Valli. They have this song "Walk Like a Man," right? And it's a great song. The only problem is it's about this boy who's having girl trouble, and so he goes to his dad for advice. And his dad's like, "Man up, all right? Walk like a man, talk like a man." But he says it in the highest voice possible, right? He told me, walk like a man, talk like a man. What is that? I think that there are just some things that need to be said in a certain voice, especially coming from a dad, right? Like, that's a strong male figure in your life. Actually, something crazy happened with me and my dad, and this is where I'm going to leave you. When I came out to my dad, I'd never had a boyfriend before, I'd never been with a guy before, and he goes, well, Carly, how do you know that you're not into being with guys if you've never been with a guy? I was like, okay, fair question, Dad. But then, how do you know that you're not into being with guys if you've never been with a guy? So we both tried it. That's my strong finish. You guys have been great. Thank you so much. This has been so fun.
Hey, keep it going for Carly from Brooklyn, New York. From Brooklyn, New York. I'm not gonna forget that now. This is actually Brooke. My middle name's Lindsay. Brooke.
Whoa.
I wanted to like drop the E and then take the Lynn and then have my name be Brooklyn with my middle initial, the Z. Brooklyn Z. I don't know. Maybe I'll still do it. I'm young. That was fun. That was so fun. Thank you. This has been a great show. Let's pretend it's over and then I'll be like, no, I was just kidding. Because it's not over yet, guys. Woo! Contagious, joyous, contagious. I'm having a good time. You guys are really, really funny. For real. That was great. All right, we got one more comic, and he's from the other side. He's from LA. So we like went middle, all the way to the UK, all the way back to the middle, all the way to New York, all the way to LA. And then, yeah, and we don't even have to move. It's kind of magical. So like space and time don't mean anything at all anymore. All right, our very last comedian. He has a podcast and a show, the Puro Caballero Show. And on Instagram, it's Pure Caballero. Yeah, I think I got it. I do okay with my Espanol. But anywho, everybody get ready, put your hands together. Welcome to your house, Mario.
Woo!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, I named it that because I just like when people pronounce it like that. I just love to see all the various variations. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Brooke. And yeah, thank you so much, Backline, for hosting. This has been an amazing show. Everybody's been awesome. So I guess since we're repping teams, Carly over here on the East Coast, I got to throw my cap on over here and say, what's up? Coming from LA, you know I got to be a Raider fan, right? Come on. Also, I know about depression. Yay! Oh, man. No, this hat's kind of crazy. This is a wild hat. This was my dad's hat when he had it when like the team was actually here in Los Angeles. So it's like from the 80s. So this shit seemed like generations worth of like tears and sweat, like through this here. But if you look closely though, it you see that the Angelus got like removed from the stitching. I asked my dad one time, it's like, hey, what's going on with that hat? I thought like, it's supposed to say Los Angeles on it. And he's just like, oh no, like what happened is like when the team moved, I like undid the stitching because like now it's like a bilingual hat. It doesn't matter where you're at or you're from. It's Los Raiders. Yeah, I keep this sucker too. It also works for my Easy E costume every year. So, so yeah, I'll put it over here. All right, let's just get right to it, I guess. Yes, my name is Mario. That is my, government name. I know what you guys are thinking. Yes, it does come with a lot of extra baggage and bullshit growing up. A lot of dumb questions. Yep. Questions like, hey, Mario, with that name, I bet you're into pasta or plumbing. Like, nah, bro. It's more like pozole, and I could probably change your brakes under 20 minutes or so. You know what I mean? Like, hey, Mario, with that name, bet you got a pet dinosaur named Yoshi. It's like, nah, dude, come on. I got a dog like everybody else, man. Come on now. Or at least I had a dog back then. Yeah. Yeah, he passed away actually like about a year and a half ago. His name was Kilo. Died of a cocaine overdose. Who saw that one coming? Damn. Oh, let's do it. Like, hey Mario, with that name, bet you enjoy some mushrooms, huh? Bet you have a good time on those. It's like that one you ain't lying. You got me there. You got me. Like doesn't matter if it's portobello, shiitake, psilocybin. Man, put it on my pizza, bro. We try to go to another level, bro. I hit that warp zone. Oh man, crazy stuff. Now I'm more of a of a pothead myself. I got more of a green thumb than anything. So I guess aside from Carly, I don't always cry when I do drugs. So I guess that's kind of my thing. I guess I don't know. But yeah, living out here in California, it's been getting interesting. First off, I want to say during this lockdown period, I'm so glad these dispensaries are considered essential places of business. Oh my goodness, keeping my sanity in check. Thank you, Governor Newsom. Uh, but yeah, it's been crazy. So because it's been like legalized for a long while, it's been like more normal. It's been normalized over time, and I think people are getting a little too bougie with their weed smoking, in my opinion. Like for instance, before this lockdown happened, I had a friend of mine gave me this whole checklist of questions before they were gonna say yes or no if they wanted to smoke with me. Just like, hey Mario, do you have indica or do you have sativa? If it's a hybrid, is it indica dominant or sativa dominant? What's the THC percentage? What's the CBD percentage? What dispensary did you get it from? What's the lot number from the grow house that you got it from? I'm like, bro, I don't freaking know. I got this from some dude down the street named Hector, man. This looks a little purple to me, so I'm gonna smoke it, man. I don't know. And he came back at me just like all snappy and just be like, man, I don't know if I can smoke with you, man. You be smoking that illegal weed. I only smoke with legal stuff, man. I be paying my taxes. I'm like, hey, bro, I think the weed prefers to be called undocumented weed, okay? Not illegal weed. All right, you know. And we're in a tense political climate right now, man. You need to chill with that verbiage. All right. Just because it doesn't have its papers and you don't know if it's from this side of the border or not, it still deserves respect. All right. So shout out to all that. Man, yeah. Am I the only one who's trying to stay like somewhat healthy during this pandemic? I'm trying, emphasis on trying, because I have like a messed up sense of what I think is healthy. Like, for instance, I've been eating way more salads than I normally do, but I've also been blacking out during the daytime before the sun goes down more than I normally do too. Some people call it intermittent fasting. I call it, I haven't smoked my first bowl of weed yet today. So there's that. Um, I've been doing so many prison style workouts that I've been starting to shoot dice with my roommates over packets of top ramen. So I owe about like 3 or 4 to my roommate David. So I can be the brakes sometimes, man. I can be the brakes. Oh boy. Oh yeah. So I do like to go out under normal circumstances, normal occasions, right? But unfortunately, I haven't been able to recently, right? So I've been adjusting to this lockdown like everybody else. But I'm kind of seeing that kind of like partying stuff like everywhere I go, and the one place where it made the most sense to me, where I saw that the clear distinction, was Costco. Right? I feel like Costco's a new nightclub nowadays. If you think about it, lines are way too long to get in. It's an exclusive membership, right? They discriminate with the dress code. You gotta be wearing a mask. You might not have to wear a collared shirt or nothing, but gotta have a mask on for sure. And I always end up buying way too much alcohol, regardless of both. Yeah, I feel like Costco shoppers are also the people who buy in bulk more. So I feel like they haven't maybe gone outside in a few weeks at the very least. So it's kind of an excuse for people to dress to the nines also too a little bit. So it's like looking people up and down in the produce section, like, okay, this is what we're doing today. All right, all right. Oh man. But yeah, speaking of masks and stuff like that, I had to get like a different kind of mask recently. I'll show you guys. It's this little satin one, little nice one stuff, a little fancy. Reason being is I live in South Central Los Angeles, California, and I don't know about you guys, but I've been seeing a lot of these like white news reporters on these broadcasts just wearing these red or blue bandanas, telling everybody just to wear one of those if you don't have the medical grade ones. And I'm like, yo, I am not taking any of those chances over here. Like, I don't know about you guys, but the Gretel bird's still chirping during the pandemic, man. I still hear the pigs rolling around and stuff like that. So, shit is real in the field. I'm not taking no chances with that stuff, man. It is wild. Oh boy. Very similar to David, I also did have a birthday during this whole lockdown period. And yeah, it was kind of an adjustment. Couldn't actually see people and do all that. So I was like, all right, what would be the next best thing? So I decided to do a Zoom group party like chat with everybody. So yeah, I was like, all right, we're gonna have a fun time. But I made one very crucial error when I was throwing this party and organizing it. I invited both my family and my friends to this party. I think you guys know what kind of personality I am. Like these two groups of people, definitely should not be mixing, right? Like church and state, just keep them separate. Yeah, at one point, like my grandma was on at my aunt's house and singing the Mexican version of like the Happy Birthday song called Las Mañanitas. All the while, I had like 3 or 4 of my college friends like catching up with each other, but like under the influence of like ecstasy and like drunk as hell, cursing up a storm. So like at the same exact time, this is all happening, and I'm looking around, I'm going like, oh my god, what am I doing? What did I bring together? This is crazy. Like none of them understand each other anyway, so I mean, all right, it might have been okay. But yeah, that was wild. That was freaking wild. But I kind of miss my family though. I also grew up kind of religious, so but maybe less so more recently. Like I'm kind of like the way I see that I'm Catholic is like the way I see some dudes that are like at the end of the bench on like a 10-day contract in the NBA or something. Like technically I'm on the team, but maybe I'm not going to every game, If we win the championship, it's questionable if I get a ring or not, Like, I don't know if you guys have been watching this Chicago Bulls documentary, but I'm like the Jed Buchler of like the 90s Bulls, basically, like, you gotta Google that one. You gotta go to basketballreference.com to find out. Oh man, that documentary is crazy. I like the last episode they had with Dennis Rodman. I had no idea he took two straight days out of the middle of the season to go basically on a bender in Vegas with Carmen Electra. Like, had to get Michael Jordan, the greatest player, I would say of all time, to go get him from his apartment and like drag his ass back to practice. Like only freaking Dennis Rodman, man. I miss the 90s, man. I miss the 90s. Man, can't get away with that shit nowadays. It's crazy. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, growing up Catholic, right? So this Easter, we didn't get a chance to, to actually go celebrate and do all that stuff. So a lot of people in my family, I could sense that they're like real antsy and all that. Like, it was really like a big moment for them not to be able to go to mass and stuff. And I mean, you can't blame them really. I mean, the one day you want to celebrate a guy who, went outside when he wasn't supposed to, you're supposed to stay inside and, and stay to yourself and stuff like that. So I can kind of get it. So yeah. Yeah, I guess celebrating Easter indoors this year was kind of interesting, but it made me reminisce a little bit about what I did last year. And I don't know about you guys, but had a pretty eventful Easter last year. I ended up at the world's largest gathering of Instagram models, fuckboys, and whoops. Some of you guys call this the Coachella Music and Arts Festival. Yeah, I really had to go this last year because it was like the most Latino Coachella of like all time, man. Like the lineup was crazy. It was like J Balvin, Bad Bunny. But like the one group that I was most excited to see there is this Mexican norteño band. They're called Los Tigres del Norte. Translation in English. Excuse me. Los Tucanes de Tijuana is the wrong band. But that translation for that one, the Tijuana Toucans, right? I love it. I love how the Mexican bands name themselves, right? They basically pick the city where they're from and put a random animal on there, man. Kind of like a minor league baseball team names itself, right? 25 guys into a van and let's go. We got a show tomorrow, right? Yeah. But yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. They were doing like all their hits and stuff, and it was amazing because it's just they're playing on like the main stage at Coachella, but they're playing it exactly like they would like a swap meet in Bakersfield, like doing shout outs and stuff like that. Like it was crazy. Oh man, yeah. I went with another buddy of mine, my boy Frank, and he went dressed to the nines. He had the cowboy hat, boots on, like button-up shirt and everything. But the funny thing is like his Spanish is not always the best. So we were walking through the crowd, and there was like people trying to like say what's up to him in Spanish, like "Oye primo, cómo te va?" and stuff like that. And he'd be like, "I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing very well. How you doing, sir?" And, oh my God, I'm having a great time. Yeah, so that was interesting. That was fun to see. But yeah, so they were fun. Somebody who I wasn't necessarily expecting to see there was 2 days later, actually on Easter itself. Was Kanye West. Yeah, last year he did his Sunday service performance like on Easter day, Sunday, super early in the morning in like the parking lot area, the campground area that they have there, and it was crazy. Now I got to preface this and say that I definitely was microdosing on some mushrooms that morning, so the gospel vibes were awesome regardless, and I could definitely say I saw Jesus Christ. I don't know if it was the mushrooms or the music, but I'll say, 50-50 on that one. But, yeah, he had a whole choir set up and everything, like on a gospel on the mountain and everything. It was insane. He had a bunch of like celebrity friends of his that came and performed. People like Kid Cudi, Ty Dolla Sign, Chance the Rapper. But the one artist I was most surprised to see that showed up, DMX, right? Raunchy rapper from the late 90s. Yes, that DMX showed up. Yeah. That man, he did a 10-minute sermon to the whole crowd, and I was just shocked beyond belief. I'm like, how is this happening right now? This is incredible. I was just excited first off that he was just out of jail, but like the fact that he's bringing religion to us now, I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. At one point, he addressed the crowd, and I swear to God, he said something like this. He was just like, it doesn't matter if you're from the burbs or if you're from the hood. If you got Jesus on your side, just know it's all good. I'm looking around like, are you guys seeing this? Like, what is going on? Oh man, the day before he came in and did like a few of his songs on another DJ set, and he was doing all his raunchy hits. So within a 24-hour period, he taught everybody how to stop, drop, shut it down, open up shop. And now he's bringing you to Jesus Christ. Oh, that sounds like Range as an artist to me, man. I was only inspired of that stuff, man. So shout out to DMX. That was pretty fun. Yeah. Ended up coming up on those mushrooms later to Bad Bunny, so the colors in his hair were definitely changing. So that was fun. That was fun. And then saw YG, saw a lot more colors than red. I'll put it that way. So a little later. Let me see what else we got. Yeah, it's 2020, guys, and I can't believe we're supposed to have like a presidential election in November with all this stuff ongoing and all the
Yeah.
drama and chaos, right? Like, are we even gonna have two candidates that make it to November? Like, seriously, this is a serious question that I've been thinking about, man. I mean, every time I see these guys on TV or like in public or whatever, they're not following CDC recommendations like at all, right? If you look at it, you see like the President Trump, he's just like touching every microphone, shaking hands, kissing every single baby he comes across or whatnot. And Joe Biden over there touching every woman under the age of 20 inappropriately that he comes across. So I mean, like, come on, man, you gotta stop spreading this stuff, right? Dude, at least he's not keeping it to the older population too. So I mean, I guess that's a positive there. But yeah, it's an inappropriate touchy joke that's political that doesn't involve Trump. That's like, ninja shit right there. It took me a minute to write that one, boy. Ooh, oh, jeez. Yeah. Crazy times we live in. Yeah, I kind of have a weird background with a lot of this like political stuff though, because if I look at like my own personal experience, my own life, yes, I'm proud Mexican American, Chicano, Latino, Hispanic, whatever bubble I gotta press an application, like, you can call me that, whatever, it's names. But anybody else who put like other on an application to get more calls back? Anybody else? Like hashtag racism 2020, I guess. Really subtle, really subtle. But nah, like I'm looking back on my history and you know, uh, my family, I ended up growing up in a pretty nice neighborhood, but we were like the only Mexican family that lived on our whole block, right? And we moved in when I was about like 4. And I distinctly remember the first thing that my dad did when he bought his property is he built an 8-foot fence around it. So, I mean, I guess takes one to know one a little bit, right? So I can't hate on that too much. I guess I don't know. It did keep the drugs and the guns out, so I guess it did its job. I don't know, man. I'm just saying. I don't know things. Oh boy, but yeah. I grew up in a very weird, very interesting town. It's called Stockton, California. It's in it's in Northern California, and it has the distinction of both being like the most diverse city in America, but also like the largest city to declare bankruptcy, right? So we got our own problems and stuff like that. It's like Forbes listed them top 10 most miserable cities to live in 3 times running. So it's like one of those places and stuff. So very interesting. So like I said, there's a lot of different people there, but it's kind of like hood diversity, I say. like like you go home from the bus stop and you don't know which kind of crew of people or what kind of characters are gonna give you problems that day. It's like, oh shit, man, the Filipino gang coming again? Shit, goddamn. Yeah. Oh man, country white boy's gonna give me problems today. God damn it. All right, cool. Quick on your toes, man. Quick on your toes. A little bit of everybody out there, but I'll say this: the one person who embodies my hometown, I think the best, is the most famous transplant there or famous export, Nate Diaz, MMA fighter. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but he's basically like a vegan eating, triathlon running, you know, shit talking cyborg basically. So like what he does. It's what he does. And he's a interesting cat. He's got a little bit of a speech impediment, and I don't know if it's because he like takes punches and kicks to the head as for a living, or the fact that he grew up in Stockton. But I'll take a little bit of both there. Uh, for those who kind of don't like haven't heard him before, kind of sounds like the Mexican version of Mushmouth. Like they'll be on like the broadcast after the fights, and it'll be kind of something like this. It'll be like, all right, that was UFC 229, brought to you by Modelo. Let's go inside the octagon for the post-fight interview with Joe Rogan. Joe, take it away. All right, John, thank you so much. Nate, crazy performance. Tell me how you did it. You know what I'm saying, Joe? I just came in, fucking slapped his head this motherfucker one time. He talking hella shit, but I come in, do my gangster shit, and you feel me? Fucking, we did it, bro. All right, Nate, you have a big gash over your eye, and you lost in the third round. Are you sure about what you said? Yo, I don't give a fuck, man. I'm about to go smoke my weed right now and shit. You feel me? I'm trying to get on your podcast, boy. You fucking 209. What's good? What's good? We in this. Can we get a medic? Can we get a medic, please? Somebody? All right. Nate Diaz, ladies and gentlemen. So, yeah, it kind of goes a little something like that. Anyway, yeah, that's me. That's me ranting. That's me raving. Thank you so much for the time. Here is my socials, and this is my podcast logo. So go find it anywhere you can listen to that. So thank you so much, everybody.
Woo!
Yay, keep it going for Mario and all of the amazing comedians that we have had from New York to LA, from the UK to Omaha, all in one little spot. And can I ask you guys, would any of you even come to Omaha for any?
Without a doubt.
You will?
I would. Yeah.
Cool.
Absolutely goddamn not.
I'm down.
Well, mixed reviews. That's fun. Oh, hi, Zach. Everyone can just see my face. That's all. I got to see Zach, I think, for a second. Am I still pinned? Are we still live? That was a very, very fun show. Everybody, it was really, really good. I'm gonna do another one next Saturday, 8:30. There's a lady from LA who is very, 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 very funny. If you see her profile picture, she's like this, and she's yeah, she's hilarious. Thank you so much for doing this show. And if you watched and if you donated, thank you. And I hope that you laughed and you had like a little better day than you would have had already. So over and out.